Hello everyone and welcome on the channel. This is the first video of the channel, so forgive me for the crappy video quality of my webcam. I'm gonna upgrade soon. But I didn't plan to kickstart this channel already, but as Leapwing just released a new plugin called LimitOne, and they are so well known to provide high quality plugins for mastering, I couldn't miss the opportunity to try to put that limiter on the test bench and to see how it does compare to the competitors. They claim to do something which is innovative while not trying to bypass any other existing tools. I think it's interesting how they approach things, because they are doing a two-stage limiter and clipper with a blend between those, but not such as Pro-L2. Pro-L2 does the clipper first, and you have the attack time of the limiter that defines the time you keep the clipper active before entering in the clipping phase. They have actually the limiter first and the clipper at the end, and you have a blend between both. Do you have 100% of limiter or less, and then how much clipper do you add at the end? They also claim to do some spectral processing and rebalancing, which makes me think a bit of the SmartLimit from Sonible, and so I thought, why not put them all on the test bench and see how they react. So without any further ado, let's dive into a session where I'm comparing those little tools, and let's see what they hold. So I used audio track that is just roughly mixed with a lot of low end and peaky mediums with a lot of sharp and remaining transients. I'm gonna play just the audio file for you for a second. So that's the audio file. As a first, I'm not gonna dive into really deep comparison, because, well, I would have to play with a lot of different settings, attack times, to get really matching or trying to null them. It's not the purpose, it's just to let you hear the flavor of that tool and what it can add on your table as an extra piece in your toolbox. So just to give a rough idea, I have Elevate from Newfangled, I have SmartLimit from Sonible, I have LimitOne here, Pro-L2 from FabFilter, and Limitless from DMG, which is a multi-band compressor limiter. It's not all in the same ballpark, it's just, as I said, to have an idea. And as a rough starting point, what I suggest is doing some delta tests. So adding the clipped signal, the limited signal, to the original one. And what I'm doing here is an average of 6 decibels of limiting. I think below 6 decibels, most of the limiters are already pretty transparent, and it's from the 4-5 decibels of gain reduction that you start to hear the color of the things. So 6 decibels seem like a good ballpark to start things. So let's listen just to the delta. This is the delta with Elevate. Smart limiter. Lim1. Pro-L2. And Limitless from DMG. So I think here we have already something interesting in the way they handle the transients and keep them more or less clean, more or less noisy. And in particular as well, the release factor, which was pretty different, I would say, on the Sonible Smart Limiter. It seems like an adaptive release time that is sometimes very long, while all the others keep more or less consistent. Elevate is quite nasty, dirty with some low mid rumble, where LimitOne is much cleaner. I'm here fully just limiting, not clipping. It feels like the transients are not distorted like the others. Pro-L2 in comparison is much dirtier. Limitless is cleaner, but I guess this is due to the multi-band action, so it's not limiting all the bands the same way. So it's already spreading the energy across the bands. And Smart Limiter is pretty clean, in fact, but I don't like the way, for this type of music where it's really like bouncing and straight, how the release is changing. But that's a personal taste, whatever. So let's listen now to the LimitOne, still in delta, but now let's dial the clipper. You hear here we have something very, very sharp. Very short, but very nasty. If I would compare this, for example, to Elevate, but just the clipper, I would have to turn off the limiter and add 6 decibels of gain on my clipper. And put it hard clip. So let's see how this compares to the LimitOne clipper. I have to say I love Elevate's clipper. I'm gonna do a long clipper shootout someday, but LimitOne, it's interesting. Elevate is cleaner on the transients, but it affects also some tails. We hear some longer sounds, while the LimitOne is just that, just the transients. Super snappy. Yeah. Okay, so now we can try maybe to find a nice balance on that one, just listening to the delta. It's something I think it's always interesting while listening to limiters and clippers. In fact, this kind of 50% range is really interesting because it's not trashy as this, but you have less tails. Okay, let's forget let's forget the delta mode and let's just listen how it sounds now. Let's compare this with Elevate, for example. Let's get back at this one, but then like this without drive. I didn't turn on the transient emphasis, so I'm just listening to the clipper and the limiter. I'm gonna turn down the adaptive gain as well on the Newfangled to see how this changes. Let's make a very short loop. It's pretty clean and it keeps some punch. Let's shift between the clipping and the limiter. Yeah, this is a tool that can be very handy, actually, this blending, to gain some punch somehow, while some perceptive punch. Of course, we are not adding dynamics, but with the clipping, it sounds more hard-hitting, and without, it's more round, more smooth. So it's actually a nice shaping tool. Let me turn back a longer loop, and let's listen to the sonic results and compare, flip between the different models. Yeah, smart, we lose the punch. The low mid feels a bit more blurry, more put at the back. And how does this sound? Yeah, makes sense. Let's try to push things a bit further and to see when it's falling apart. I'm pushing 3 extra decibels in. Yeah, here we start hearing really the Pro-L2 crackling. Limitless is good. Huh. Yeah, that makes sense. As soon as you turn on the clipper, it handles less good the low-end content, but with no clipper at all, I end up having a pretty neat limiting action with no distortion on the low end. Listen. Compared to Pro-L2, let's now dial in something, see how we can push things further, because I didn't turn on the oversampling on Pro-L2. Let's turn that on here, and let's check. I think they had the option to do some oversampling, it seemed. Where is that? Where is that? I saw in the manual they talked about something, but I can't find this again. Or maybe I must have, maybe I was mistaken. Briefly scanning through the manual, but they're not talking about oversampling. Okay, so let's forget about that. Let's compare now Pro-L2 oversample with LimitOne. Yeah, oversampling is already helping a lot Pro-L2. Listen with and without. This is something which is known, but just for the sake of this video. Let's just loop that part where it's really like crackling. It's still crackling, but on a shorter period of time and more high-end. We hear less lower medium mushiness, which makes sense because this must be intermodulation distortion folded back in the lower end. So with oversampling, it's more just high-end. We lose some kind of punch. It's less in your face, but it's fucking clean. Let's see how it compares. Yeah, Smart Limiter is crackling a little bit as well. Elevate is totally lost here. We might get with more adaptive gain. We might get away with something like that. No, this is too much for Newfangled. So I would say in this field, so Smart Limiter, Limitless are still sounding pretty clean. I would say even cleaner than Pro-L2, but less in your face. So I should measure in detail. Yeah, maybe it's this 0.1 decibel difference. I don't know. But there is a quality to the sound that even if it's the same loudness, I should really measure in depth. I could put a Hewlin meter on the master. Yeah, 0.2 dB quieter, maybe that's a difference. So maybe if I would turn this one down, by 0.2. Scheiße. Minus 0.2. Yet there is some high medium presence that is of course more distorted, but also more in your face with the Pro-L2. Now let's listen to that's great. That's really great. How much can I push things down with the clipper? It's neat. I would say so far, but as I said, this is just a rough first impression video. It's not a long shootout and big comparison, but I would say it's a serious competitor. It sounds very clean. It might lack a bit of grit that actually could be beneficial in some very hard-hitting electronic music, yet maybe adding a last clipper afterwards to just shave a little bit more some things, or on the contrary, having a tiny bit of a clipper at the beginning just to have it triggered by some peaks and adding a little bit of noise to have this psychoacoustic presence might be just the trick. But I would say for genres that you want very clean while being loud, this is a serious competitor. And I really love the blending from non-clipped to clipped signal. And then there are other things. You have dither with different noise shapings. You have the tilt EQ where you can actually boost the lows or the highs to compensate for mixes that might be too loaded in the low end. I guess that's the main idea. So I should try it more, but yeah, this is already a long video, and I think for for today we can call it a day. Thank you for watching. As I said, I'm going to cover more later on with proper clippers, very long reviews, talking about a lot of tools I use daily, mixing and mastering tricks. But yeah, I wanted to jump on the opportunity of having this great plugin released to do a live check with you and sharing my impressions live with you. I hope it was helpful. Take care and see you soon. Bye bye.